Ever walk past a place for rent and wish you could just take a peek inside? Maybe even explore the layout. Envision the natural light streaming through the windows. Or plan where your vinyl record collection would go. At Apartments.com, you can. With tools like their 3D virtual tours, you can see the exact unit you could be living in. Really envision yourself in your new home with Apartments.com, the place to find a place.
At Planet Fitness, we don't think you should have to pay a ton for everything you need to get stronger. Best-in-class equipment, free fitness training, and over 2,800 conveniently located clubs to choose from. Most open 24 hours, all judgment-free, with membership options starting at just $15 a month. So, whenever you show up, you can give everything you've got. Join the club in person, online, or on the free PF app. Hours, amenities, and offers vary. See club for details. Planet Fitness. We're all strong on this planet.
Today's episode of Phillies Therapy is executive produced by Adam D., Andrew G., Joe M., Mary R., and Owen S., executive producer members of our Patreon and our Discord. All right, let's get to today's episode. Yes, we're back, and that can mean only one thing. Something big has happened. Something good, in this case. Yes, it came out later on Monday afternoon, early Monday evening, that the Phillies and Jesus Luzardo, the left-handed starting pitcher you all know and love, have agreed to a new contract extension that takes effect starting next season. That's 2027, when baseball is eventually played in 2027. It is a 5-year deal, tax on top of the current pre-arbitration agreement in place for 2026, and it keeps Jesus Luzardo as part of the Phillies rotation for the foreseeable future. He becomes part of the core officially. He was set to become a free agent, or at least test the market following the season, but no more. He gets 5 years and $135 million, so roughly the Ranger Suarez deal, again, starting in 2027. With me, as always, to talk about this, how it came together, what it means for the Phillies rotation, the Phillies pitching situation, and other assorted moves thereof. Let me welcome back in the Athletics Phillies beat reporter. He is Matt Gelb. Matt, this caught me by surprise in a very pleasant way. Finally, some good news coming out of nowhere, because I was not expecting this to get done during camp any longer. I thought that window was over, and yet here we are. What do you know about how this all came together and how long they had been working toward this, and why now for Luzardo when free agency was so close?
Well, I don't think the window had ever really closed. I mean, I think as far as I know, I mean, they had been talking. They talked soon after spring training started. And I'm a little surprised, Paul, not because of the timing, but I didn't think they were going to get to common ground. And I'd spoken to Luzardo early in camp. And of course, he's said publicly, I would love to stay in Philadelphia. I would really like it here.
Sure.
I'm open to it. I think privately, his side did not think that they would get to this point in spring training. And you're right. I mean, like, timing wise, it takes a lot for a player to sign an extension going into his free agency year. Luzardo's got essentially 7 months until he could have tested the market. I think there's a lot of different things at play here. I mean, one is this is a deal with considerable risk for the Philadelphia Phillies. I mean, this is a big number, and I know people are really excited. I'm not trying to temper that excitement. I think this is a fair deal for both sides. I think Luzardo is an exciting player, and really proved a lot in 2025. There's a lot of risk here, though, Paul. I mean, we're talking about a guy who really does not have the kind of track record that a pitcher who signs this type of deal typically has. And so, okay, what does this, my mind immediately raced to this, and I don't know if you connected the dots, and it's not an apples to apples comparison, but does it not remind you of maybe sort of the feelings or some of the analysis or thought when they signed Zack Wheeler to his original contract, which was 5 years and $118 million, and it was going into Wheeler's age 30 season. And it's, I think both contracts are similar in that you are signing a pitcher who you're not paying necessarily for past performance. Obviously, Luzardo was really good last year, but you're making a bet that his projections at his best years are ahead of him.
Yes.
And that's not something that we always see, obviously, in free agent starting pitchers. Those deals tend to be often are risky and often, don't result in a ton of value, at least outside of the first few years of those deals. But the more I kind of like did the comparison, Paul, I don't know, like it's kind of interesting to me because when Wheeler signed his contract, he had made 126 starts, 749 and a third innings with a 3.77 ERA.
Okay,
I'm just using the baseline, the standard. I'll get into the other numbers in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Luzardo, 121 starts, 695 and 2/3 innings. Pretty comparable. In fact, it's 55
similar,
innings less than Wheeler with a 4.19 ERA. Now, WAR-wise, Luzardo, to his career at this point, using Fangraphs WAR, has posted 13 WAR. And at the time that Wheeler signed his contract, he had been worth 12.4 FWAR in his career. And in the previous 3 years leading into Wheeler's deal, 9.1 WAR, Luzardo, 9.8 WAR. I mean, two guys who their WAR and some of the underlying metrics or underlying measurements that we use to think about pitchers in the modern era are better than their ERA. Or better than their performance. And we can look at Luzardo from last year and know that, he had a 3.92 ERA. That obviously does not tell the story of his entire season, right? We of course know about, the 2-start blow up in the middle of the year, 2.9 whip, or 2.9 FIP, 6th in strikeout rate among all major league stars last year, 6th in WAR among all major league stars when you use Fangraphs WAR. Obviously an ascendant season for this guy. That said, he was available in a trade, Paul, for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying he was available in a trade for a reason, and he was available. I mean, with 2 years of control, I'm not saying the Phillies didn't give up nothing to get him. They gave up a decent prospect, but it wasn't a top shelf prospect to acquire Jesus Luzardo when they got him. There were teams that saw the medicals and were frankly spooked off. Yeah. And the Marlins harbored fears about his health.
Clearly.
Doesn't that sound like what I remember? I mean, Zack Wheeler, I'm not saying they're the same person. It just reminds me of that contract. It reminds me sort of, I guess, of like the reasoning that would be behind it. And that was a different Phillies front office, obviously. That was Matt Klentak, who signed Wheeler to that contract originally. I think there's a lot of risk here, though, Paul. And I'm not trying to, I don't know. I'm not trying to rain on everyone's parade. I'm really not. But
I don't think you are.
But like, has not been the most durable guy. And so you sign him his contract. Obviously, like the Phillies they don't have all the answers, but they've figured some stuff out when it comes to keeping pitchers healthy, especially starters.
Yes.
They've got a pretty good track record of that. They felt like with Luzardo last year, getting to work with him for a year, that they changed a few things, not just with his pitch mix. I'm talking about with the way he trains his body, prepares between starts, stuff that they think it's like, oh, okay, like he can do this. And also this is probably beneficial to keep him on the field. And it did. It worked. I mean, he held his velocity the whole year. He held his effectiveness in the playoffs. He was exceptional.
Yep.
All that said, like, it's rare to see a guy get this kind of contract with the sort of track record that he has.
I agree in that there is risk because this is more than, the Christopher Sanchez deal, right? Where the team comes in and gets something that's,
by the way, the Sanchez deal again, the only reason that they're able to do Luzardo is because they did Sanchez for how they did Sanchez. Again,
yeah, honestly,
a transformational transaction. And I wrote that a year ago, or I mean, it really is. It allows them to do things that they would not be able to do otherwise.
Yeah. And all of the other things that have been, floating around the last winter, the last year, however long, not signing Bo Bichette probably leaves them with some money to do this, although this is a future deal and maybe this was something that could always happen anyway. but that's possible. I see that as something emanating.
Yeah, I
from
mean, it
this.
doesn't
I see
affect
that,
the 2020. It doesn't affect the 2026 payroll at all. This contract.
no,
But
no.
yes, no, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
Like there are steps along the path that led us here to this moment, to the Phillies and Luzardo and his side and his camp and whatever, coming to this agreement now during spring training before the season starts. This is really the part that caught me off guard. I like the terms, you know, I do think it's risky to tack on 5 years, it make it ostensibly a 6-year deal if you want to include the 2026 season that's coming up. Okay. He's 2 years younger, roughly, signing this deal than Wheeler was when the Phillies brought him in, for whatever that is worth.
right.
Luzardo,
Right when the contract starts, he's a year closer. But yeah.
Luzardo's not going to turn 30 until late September of next year, which was Zack Wheeler's first year with the Phillies. He turned 30. What was it? May, very early on. May 30th.
Yeah. Again, it's not apples to apples. It just reminds me, and you could argue that the best starting pitcher contracts are the ones that are predicated on future value, and that's those are so hard to, of course, right?
Yeah.
Like Yamamoto signed for what he did because of his age and because of the projections. I think Luzardo's side did quite well here. It's essentially the Ranger Suarez deal. It's essentially the Carlos Rodon deal from a couple years ago. It's Rodon got 6 times 27. Luzardo gets 5 times 27. Rodon had been a 2-time All-Star, and that and it had been way more established than Luzardo is at the time of the signing. And obviously, the specter of the labor situation in this upcoming offseason, is probably playing into some guys' minds because, regardless of what happens with the next CBA, if Luzardo had another strong season for the Phillies, he would have entered, as one of the better free agent stars available. I don't know if any protracted labor war and whatever comes out of it would have really affected him. He probably would have still gotten paid.
I would think so.
But I think you see a guy here who, again, because the timing, Paul, it speaks to a guy who really enjoyed his year in Philadelphia. And I think we saw it in different ways. Like, I think he just really enjoyed the atmosphere. I think he enjoyed working with Caleb Cotham, the Phillies pitching coach, who gave him that sweeping slider that, really helped him rack up the strikeout rate, especially early in the season. And I just think he likes it here a lot. And I think he's a guy who's been traded 3 times already in his career and was kind of like, if I can get generational wealth and, in a fair market offer, which I think this is, I think it is a fair deal. It made sense. And I think that's what you see here.
So now the Phillies have 6 players under contract for at least $24 million in 2027, continuing the theme of paying to keep the core intact. Many of these guys, a good deal of them, 5 of those 6, in fact, are signed through at least 2030. We're talking about Kyle Schwarber. We're talking about Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, of course. Aaron Nola under his new deal, 2030 is the last season there. And Luzardo has an option in 2032.
Yeah, I don't have all the details on this. I saw it was reported. I don't have all the details on it. There is a team option. Yes.
A team option 2032. By the way, Fangraphs enhanced their contract details page, and now they give year-by-year breakdowns and everything. I'm just learning this on the fly. This is my version of a reaction podcast. It's wonderful. Thank you to all of the people who give us so much good stuff in the public sphere. I would be lost without you. But this just goes to further show that this team, this core, this identity of this era of Phillies baseball, one, continues to be built around the pitching, right?
Jesus, I mean,
now, he's if he is what he was in 2025 moving forward, or even just close to it, it's fantastic. That's great. And that continues to lock in with him and Sanchez being the focal point of this rotation after Zack Wheeler's time ends, assuming he sticks to his plan after the end of next year.
If anything, this deal firmly solidifies that, the rotation's future is built around Chris Sanchez and Jesus Luzardo.
Yeah. Which is a wild thing to think.
It sure is.
Just this time last year, like, we did not know that Chris Sanchez was going to have a Cy Young runner-up year. We did not know if we were going to get 30 starts out of Jesus Luzardo, and if we did, what kind of, what version of Luzardo we were going to get coming off, the back trouble and whatever had been limiting him over the last couple of years. And now here we are in March 2026, and those two guys are it. They're the focal points right now, with Zack Wheeler trying to come back, with Aaron Nola also trying to come back, regain form. Like, they're it right now. We'll wait for Andrew Painter, but right now it's those two guys.
Yeah, and I know there was a lot of consternation about letting Ranger Suarez walk, and I get that. Ranger Suarez has been a really, really good homegrown starting pitcher who came up big in the biggest moments the last 2 years for the Phillies. The Phillies let Suarez walk essentially because they knew that they could only pay one of Suarez or Luzardo, and they did want to really re-sign Luzardo, whether it was now or if it had to be after the season. And they picked a guy who's 2 years younger and throws harder. And I kind of get that. I mean, both with durability issues, right?
Sure, of course. I mean, part of the reason I had personally hesitance about bringing Ranger back was exactly that. You knew you were going to get him for only about 150, 160 innings a year. They were going to be good innings, but that was probably all you were going to get. And now this is a bet that the Luzardo that we saw in 2025 is more resembling the one, we see moving forward. I mean, that's certainly what this money indicates, that the club thinks that it's possible.
It better be, because he's only, last year was career high in innings pitched. Mm-hmm. It's only the second time that he's gotten to above 100 innings. He did 103rd 1 year. So only the second time he's gotten to above 101.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even Ranger Suarez obviously had a much longer track record than Luzardo does at the time of signing. It feels a year early, but I think to get him signed and to get this price, like, they had to do it a year early, because yes, there's risk in doing it now, and he suffers an injury during the season, and obviously, Paul, there's risk that he has another season like last year or even better than last year, and goes on the open market and is seeking a contract that is 6 times 35, or probably not that much, but 6 times in the low 30s, right?
Yeah.
So to get 5 times 27, you had to jump the gun, and that's kind of what they did here.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet, and the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
Get in the game with the college-branded Venmo debit card. Wreck your team with every tap and earn up to 5% cash back with Venmo Stash, a new rewards program from Venmo. No monthly fee, no minimum balance, just school pride and spending power. Get in the game and sign up for the Venmo debit card at venmo.com/collegecard. The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. Select schools available. Venmo Stash terms and exclusions apply at venmo.me/stash terms. Max $100 cash back per month.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay, where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay. Things people love.
For delicious meals, you could go out to eat, or you could just make a Marie Callender's meal. Marie Callender's classic chicken parmigiana bowl is so good, it has marinara sauce that's made from scratch and creamy mozzarella cheese over pasta. It's delicious with no artificial flavors, colors, or preservatives, and 30 grams of protein. You can find it in the frozen aisle. Marie Callender's, what having it all tastes like.
I'm just looking at the pending free agent starting pitchers.
It's a good market.
It's decent. There are good options.
Yeah.
Luzardo with another with another 25, again, we're assuming a lot here, maybe not too much, but we are assuming some things because of that track record. But with another 2025, you could say Luzardo had a really good argument to be the second best lefty on the coming market behind that Tarek Skubal guy. That's not a bad place to be, and he forgoes that. I think that's part of why I'm surprised this ended up happening now. If it had fallen to the back of my mind that it would have happened, I guess once camp opened. I know nobody had said anything, and
but I mean, like they don't. No, the camp opening was the time to start the talks. Like this is what they've done in the past. Like they hold on to the extension stuff until spring training, and they feel like, at least the Phillies do, that they feel like that the time to do that business is in spring training, and they've done that now numerous times. They did Aaron Nola, the first Aaron Nola extension was done in spring training. They did the Scott Kingery extension, for what it's worth. That was done in spring training.
There's God, was that 8 years ago already? Jeez.
I don't know. There's another one that I'm forgetting now that I can't remember that they did in spring training. I can't remember, but I mean, like last year, for example, with Schwarber, I mean, like they didn't talk extension until spring training. And they did talk and they exchanged numbers, and they weren't, they were not in the same ballpark, and Schwarber decided to let it play out. But camp opening was the time for it to start. I think the closer you get to opening day, obviously, like, the less likely it becomes, but that's always been the time for them, especially under Dombrowski, to have those extension talks. They'll do them in spring training.
Was I falling victim to a trope of sorts and thinking that, nothing was going to happen during spring? I'm trying to figure out where that would have come from.
The Wheeler extension, I'm sorry, the other Wheeler extension was in spring training.
Yeah.
The 3-year, however much money it is.
Yeah, I guess it's entirely
possible. 3 times 42. That was in spring training. That was also when games are going on. That was in March. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I've just sort of invented that then. I was a prisoner.
No. I mean, that's not. Yeah. I mean, it's like, no. I mean, once you start, no, I mean, like, it's natural. I mean, once, remember, I mean, Cole Hamels signed during the season of his free agent year, which was like,
that I remember.
Borderline preposterous at the time. But I mean, like, they made him a good offer, and then he, really liked Philly. And so he did it. That's really rare for that to happen in season for a pending free agent. But I mean, the closer you get to opening day, the less likely it was. But I think both sides wanted this to continue. And I think while I'm pretty clear that I think there's probably more risk on the Phillies side than there is on Luzardo's side, right? Because what's the risk for Luzardo is that he has a really, really good season, top 5 Cy Young finish. And what did he miss out on? 6 or 7 years of low 30 AAV, right?
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
did he miss
not
out
nothing,
on
but it's a good fallback, right?
Right, not nothing, but
yeah.
I think the risk is greater on the Phillies side here. I guess that's the better way of saying it. Although I do think that this is a fair deal for both sides.
Yeah. All right.
Now, next year, the 2027 rotation.
Yeah.
If there's baseball. Right now, I mean, they're going to have one of the most expensive rotations in sport. I mean, right now in AAV, you've got $100.7 million allocated to 4 guys for 2027.
Wow.
It's a lot.
Wow. But
all this, like, you talk about the path leading us here, a lot of it really, Paul, stems from the Phillies' inability to develop starting pitchers from within. It's why they went out and traded for Luzardo in the first place. And it's also why they've had to drop $100.7 million into 4 starting pitchers for next year, for 2027. And it's an expensive rotation this year because Luzardo is making $11 million and Walker is making $18 million. It does come from a lot of that, and it's why they need Andrew Painter to be a viable major league starter. But you're right, the backbone of this franchise right now is pitching, and it's how funny is it that only one of those guys is homegrown.
Yeah, I guess then
for now.
Yeah, for now, right. It could still happen that Andrew Painter comes together quickly, or we have time for him. And hey, if nothing else, this now buys them, I feel like, more time with Andrew Painter, because you don't have to worry about filling. You don't have to fill Luzardo's spot next winter.
Yeah. I mean, they would have been in the market for a frontline starting pitcher next offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think they just took care of it now, really.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think, they have a lot of money coming off. I mean, we've talked about it, but I mean, the Castellanos and Walker money $38 million, you've taken most of that here and dedicated to Luzardo, but you got a lot of other guys coming off the books too. And again, we don't know what the sports financial structure will look like in 2027, but I mean, they still have quite a bit coming off, yeah, quite a bit. I mean, we're talking still about another 40-ish million that comes off the books, I think.
Right. With the only one of those with the good chance of coming back being Alvarado, and even he's far from a sure thing at this point. Right. You would expect Taiwan and Adolis Garcia and Alec Boehm and probably also Edmundo Sosa to move on and find other work. I think then looking ahead to some of these other guys who may find themselves in a similar situation this time next year, we have final ARB years coming up for Joan Duran, Bryson Stott, Brandon Marsh. These are guys who, depending on how this year goes, could find themselves talking about new contracts of their own.
Well, I think it speaks to
different situations, but maybe.
Yeah. And the Luzardo situation speaks to, I think that, and people don't want to hear it because it hasn't resulted in a championship, but it speaks to the sort of culture that the Phillies have built here, right? Yeah. I mean, Luzardo is not the first guy who has wanted to come back and was willing to sign, before free agency to come back.
Yeah.
They have extended and re-signed quite a few guys in the last 3 or 4 years under Dombrowski. Luzardo, Schwarber, Realmuto, Sanchez, Nola, Alvarado, Strom did an extension. Whether or not you think that's good business or good practice, because I know there's people who are tired of a lot of the same guys. It's clear that there's something that has been created, and that these guys want to be a part of, and that matters too.
Absolutely right. Well, how about that for some pleasant news?
I talk too much. I mean, like, do you like, am I being too harsh about the risk factor here? Like, do you think this is a steal? Like, is this, because I think the overwhelming response generally has been at least among Phillies fans, I think is it's a steal. I don't know that's a steal.
Yeah, I don't know if I have too much of a thought around the figures necessarily. It feels fine. It feels right to me. I'm glad it got done because I like Luzardo, the pitcher. He was one of my favorite pitchers, dating back to his time in Oakland. I really liked what he was, and even into Miami. Like, I'm happy that he is a member of this team, and I like what he brings. I like his stuff. I like the way he, he's got that dog in him, so to speak. You see him get fired up when he gets out of a big spot. Like, he wears it. He feels it. I like that. I'm glad it's done. I'm glad I don't have to worry about this team trying to, play in free agency again that way, because I think that's the part I'm actually getting a little bit tired of. I am less tired of the core of same guys being brought back the last few years than I am the thought of having to go out every trade deadline to patch a hole that we know is coming, going out into, lately with the free agent market being like, all right, got to find some outfield help. I think
the trade deadline thing is such a is a damning thing.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. I mean, and we'll see what happens this coming trade deadline. I'm surely they'll be in the market for an outfielder, but
probably
that's not the sign of the health of the healthiest organization. They've been able to stomach it so far. I do feel like it's going to catch up to them, but not being in the market, but not having to be in the market for super long-term starting pitching contracts. Paul, you're 100% right. Like, that is something that they have avoided. I mean, even going back to Jake Arrieta, it's only a 3-year contract, but they have avoided it. And the longest one is Nola, which, we'll see. But I mean, he's firmly the 4th starter for $24.5 million a year moving forward, which that's what happens in some of these deals. And the Taiwan Walker deal was a 4-year deal, and did not go great. But I guess it could have been worse. I don't know.
Yes, it could have been worse. I guess to get back to answering your original question, I do think it's worth remembering what Luzardo has been in the years leading up to this deal. A lot of attention will be on what he is this year and moving forward, sure.
Yes.
But it is worth remembering, like, there is, again, some risk here. It is considerable, and it does remind me of the Wheeler situation in that the immediate performance of the guy coming into the deal that he agreed to with the Phillies wasn't necessarily that of a true ace. And Luzardo was even, better, I think, leading up to his not free agency, but this deal than Wheeler was entering, the 2020 season. That's about where I stopped thinking about it, though, because a lot of pitching deals come with risk anyway. And it just kind of is one of those things that I let fall into the background noise a little bit. There's always a chance that a pitcher can get hurt. And I acknowledge that Luzardo has had a couple more dings and dents than the average pitcher and is agreeing to a considerable contract. Okay. All right. I understand that. And that's part of it, stipulated. And now I just kind of move on from there. And we'll see what the coming years bring. I think it's fine in terms of just term and offer sheet and dollars, whatever. I am very happy that this team got it done for what they would have been facing otherwise going into next winter, even assuming a normal winter, which we won't get. I'm just glad that they don't have to worry about that spot in the rotation, and they continue to be very deep there. That really makes me happy.
There's certainly not a lot in the farm system.
No. And I mean, that goes back to your point about development. These are moves they kind of have to make when they get these imports. They need to get themselves the long-term insurance. If there's anything to say, oh, that's the risk, well, maybe that's the real risk we're talking about here, is that the farm system continues to not produce what this team could really use, and that is in-house reinforcement.
We need about 4 hours for that. But, we are coming off the books in 27 and pretty sure he will not pitch again after 2027. That's $42 million. And so yes, the rotation investment for the next 2 to 3 years is 2 years, is rather significant. But yeah, I mean, I think this firmly makes Sanchez and Luzardo, the pillars of the rotation moving forward. And, Wheeler is obviously Wheeler, but in 2 years, he probably won't be around. And I think that you've set yourself up pretty nicely, especially if Painter develops. And I guess it does take the pressure off Painter, Paul, in that, if Sanchez and Luzardo continue to stay healthy and be effective, if Painter is not an ace, which is a big label to be throwing around, but merely a strong mid-rotation starter, that works.
It absolutely does. So there you go. That's our second episode for today, March the 9th, 2026. Here on a Monday evening, the Phillies and Jesus Luzardo agreed to a new contract taking effect in 2027, a 5-year, $135 million deal, plus an option for 2032, which is not a real year and it's not a real time. I'll believe it's real when we get there. The investment in the rotation continues to be the focus, and the Phillies have 2 of the game's better lefties at the top of it, plus guys who aren't some slouches behind him. With that point of business out of the way, done and dusted, we clap our hands off and get ready for the last 2 weeks of spring.
Get ready for the last 2 weeks of boring spring training. Yes,
it was a nice little injection of excitement here in the middle of the spring. But there you go, some good news for you here on this Monday evening. Thank you for joining us again here on Phillies Therapy, part of the Believe Podcast Network. For Matt, I am Paul. I don't know if we'll talk to you again quite this soon, but we will talk to you again soon. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Today's episode was produced by members of our Patreon. That's right. Producers of today's episode: Brian J., Briana W., CallisonGhost, Christopher S., Daniel Y., Hunter R., Ian, Jacob, Jaedon M., Jason G., Joe Mack, John S., Kaitlin M., Kodi L., Lindsay, Lisa L., Michael W., the other Michael W., Robert R., Timothy G., Tom D., Tom H., Zack, and our anonymous supporters as well. Thank you, everybody, for chipping in. If you want to be part of this, patreon.com/Phillies Therapy has what you are after. We have expanded our offerings, included some different tiers. I just read the names of some of the members of that tier. Nudge, nudge. We'd love to have you be part of our community and talk ball with us this year. And thank you to everybody, even if you're not a producer or an executive producer of the show. Thank you very much for listening and being part of this. This has been Phillies Therapy, part of the Believe Podcast Network. For Matt, I am Paul, and we will talk to you again soon.
Dear McDonald's, your breakfast menu, fire. 10s across the board. I could be happy with anything, even though I order the same thing every time. Thanks for not judging me. I'll try something new next time. Maybe.
Score a 2 for $5 deal on a sausage McMuffin with egg and more. Limited time only. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer. Single item at regular price.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Few things are as uplifting as the greatest moments in sports. And nothing brings us together quite like Team USA at the Olympic Winter Games. From NBC Universal's iconic storytelling to the innovative technology across Xfinity and Peacock, Comcast brings the Olympic Games home to America, sharing every moment with millions. When Team USA steps onto the world stage, we're not just watching, we're cheering together. This winter, we're all on the same team. Comcast, proud partner of Team USA.
Taxes was feeling unwelcome. Now Taxes is an open door, literally, to new TurboTax stores. Meet our experts in person.
Hi, welcome in.
They're powered by smart tech and ready to do your taxes for you. Get real-time updates while you go about your day. Confident your taxes are done right. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. TurboTax stores opening soon. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app.
Shopping at Burlington feels like a dream come true, and so do the prices.
Gorgeous. Wow. Beautiful.
That's really pretty.
Oh, hi. Sorry. I was just imagining all the places I could wear these dresses.
Oh, not a problem. You're just experiencing what it feels like to shop at Burlington. You just have to see it to believe it.
Should I?
Oh, yeah. You have to get that. And that. And this one, too. You know what? Fill up your cart.
At these prices, you can just get them all. Burlington. Deals, brands, wow.
All right, ladies.
When you've done the work, you want your hydration to do the same. Introducing new Gatorade Lower Sugar, now with no artificial flavors, sweeteners, or colors. And 75% less sugar and all the electrolytes of regular Gatorade, now available nationwide.